Oh, wow. I mean, that was the worst loss of the season. And I remember like back in the day, I would be heated after losses like this. Like I would be able to rant, but it's gotten to the point with this organization, this team, I really don't care. Like it's sad to say, but it is really hard to give a flying fluff about this team. It's not even worth getting mad about. There's no point. Like, should we be surprised that the Sixers lost to the 8-31 Pelicans when they just suspended Zion for one game because he missed the team's flight? Should we be surprised? Yes, we should. But no one who's watched this team all year is surprised because this is who they are. One of the most undisciplined teams I've ever seen in my life. Constantly in foul trouble, constantly arguing with the refs, constantly mentally getting checked out of the game because they're worried about something else rather than the actual game. Not only that, but when they get it close, they can never make a wide open shot to change the momentum. This team is horribly coached. Their coach has no clue what to do to get the best out of these guys. First off, these guys don't even mesh well together, so we got to start looking at Daryl Morey and being like, what in the world did you design? Because it's not working, and your job should be on the line for that. Because guess what? We got Joel Embiid, who's basically on his way down. So we don't got time to waste. And what is this? This is a whole big waste of time because what the fluff did Daryl Morey orchestrate in the offseason? I mean, my goodness. 7 minutes for Reggie Jackson once again. 5 minutes for Jeff Dowden. And once again, Tyrese Maxey is playing 41 freaking minutes. It's been 2 straight months where we're getting 5 minutes from a point guard, 7 minutes from a point guard off the bench, and we still haven't signed an extra guard because we're worried about going over the tax or whatever bull crap. Oh my goodness. It's just the worst product I've ever witnessed. CJ freaking McCollum, 35 minutes, 38 points. This man is 33 years old. I thought he was older than that. That surprised me when I looked up. And the worst thing about this game is it's the fourth quarter. It was like a 5-point game or something like that. And the Pelicans come out with what I would call a tanking lineup. Their best initiator was Jose Alvarado, who was magnificent tonight. But he was out there with a bunch of mid players that can't create for themselves. So Jose Alvarado had to do everything. So what do the Sixers do? They put Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, a lot of their good players out there that should win the minutes without CJ and DeJounte Murray. But they go to what I call a give up wide open three-pointers zone. The Sixers deploy this zone every now and again because they're too lazy to play man-to-man defense. It's embarrassing that you're going zone against a Jose Alvarado-led lineup without the Pelicans' 2 best players, CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray. And in the beginning of that fourth quarter, which it was kind of a game, I mean, the Sixers kept having fake comebacks, they lost the game in the minutes without CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray because they deployed the weakest zone ever. And then finally, they go out of a zone. And guess what? They're not communicating properly as a team. And Daniel Tice goes right down the middle of the lane, dunk, and Nurse has to call a timeout. I mean, that was the most embarrassing stretch of basketball I've ever seen. Any competent, serious team comes back in those minutes because the Pelicans were playing an all-bench unit, and they already are an all-bench team besides CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray because they're riddled with injuries, and basically at this point, they are freaking tanking. It turns out the Sixers are the worst team when it comes to wide-open three-pointers. So they are shooting 28% with 4 to 6 feet of space. That would be considered a wide open shot. 28%. And this is where I kind of, relax on Nick Nurse a bit. Don't get me wrong. This dude needs to be fired. Because what is going on, what you're seeing on the court, I mean, the lack of discipline, the complaining, they're a horribly coached team. He should be fired. But at the same time, a lot of people are like, what are they running offensively? What do you run offensively? The Sixers generate open three-pointers at times. I mean, I wish they generated it more consistently, don't get me wrong. But when they do, they miss. They suck. So it's like, okay, you get a coach who can run stuff to get guys open. It's still not going to go in. They can't make wide open threes. How many times do the Sixers have a chance to take control of the game? They do everything correctly, and it comes down to a make or miss shot, and they can't make shit. And the funny thing is, they shot 35% from three. That's not too bad. They're usually worse. Man, oh man. But once again, let's go to the 12 offensive rebounds from the Pelicans. 12 offensive rebounds. At the end of the game, CJ McCollum gifts the Sixers 2 missed free throws, and the Sixers players are so worried about the refs, or they just don't even care anymore, they give up an offensive rebound. But it's also like, this team stands no chance without Joel Embiid. Like, how is he going to be able to play 3 games in a row? Like, is that going to happen? Because you got Gershon out of position the whole entire year. Tyrese Maxey, he can play like point guard, combo guard. If Joel Embiid's out there, you can get away with not really having a point guard on the roster. But if Joel Embiid is never going to play, I mean, you got to get Maxey some help out there, especially since Paul George is Paul Tobias. So, I don't know. It's just like you can't expect perfection from this group. But at the same time, you would like a little more than losing to the Pelicans without Zion, without Brandon Ingram, without Herb Jones, without Trey Murphy, without, the list goes on and on. It's like, I don't even know at this point. It's really sad. I wish the Sixers season was just over, to be honest, because they're probably going to have some fake wins or something because Joel Embiid is going to play, but then he's going to get hurt, and then they'll be right back at the same boat. And then they'll probably make the playoffs, play like the Cavaliers in the first round or whatever, the Knicks, and Joel Embiid will play in 2 games. We'll have 1 fake win, and it'll probably be like game 1, so it'll give the fans some hope. And then when there's expectations, the Sixers will shit the bed, and then they'll lose in the first round 4-1. They'll get 1 game where it's like, oh, we have a chance, and then boom, shakalaka, it's over. And then on top of that, OKC's going to get our pick.